The war room of the Zereth Dominion battlecruiser was unusually quiet. Commander Krall stood at the center of the chamber, staring down at the single figure kneeling in magnetic restraints on the cold metal floor. The prisoner looked small. Very small, .2 arms, .2 legs, and no natural armor, and no claws, and no fangs. Just a soft-looking creature with dark hair and tired eyes that a human. Krall tilted his head, confused. This fragile species had somehow survived on a planet classified as a Class 12. Death World. According to the files, Earth had violent storms, massive predators, unstable tectonic activity, poisonous environments. Yet this tiny creature had evolved there. The alien guard around the room whispered among themselves. One of them laughed at a deep, clicking sound. This is the warrior that destroyed 3 of our assault drones? Another guard leaned closer to the prisoner. This is disappointing. The human slowly looked up. His face was calm, too calm. Commander Krall studied him carefully. State your name, human. The man blinked slowly. Private Daniel Carter, he said. His voice was quiet, but steady. Krall tapped the holographic console that a recording appeared in the air. The footage showed the battlefield from earlier that day. 3 Zereth assault drones were advancing toward a damaged human convoy. Then suddenly, one human soldier jumped from the wreckage. The footage froze. Krall zoomed in. The same man, Daniel Carter. The next few seconds of the video were confusing. The human had grabbed a broken metal beam, smashed the first drone, ripped the weapon from the second, and somehow disabled the third with a single strike. The entire room fell silent. One guard muttered, "That is not possible." Krall looked back at the prisoner. "You destroyed military machines designed to fight armored species." Daniel shrugged slightly. "They looked expensive." A guard hissed in anger. "Commander, allow me to discipline this creature." Krall nodded slowly. "Proceed." The guard stepped forward. He was nearly 3 times the human's size. His armored claws gleamed under the lights. He grabbed the human by the collar and lifted him slightly. "You will answer with respect." The human looked at him, then calmly said, "You might want to put me down." The guard laughed. "And why would I do that?" Daniel sighed. "Because this is about to get awkward." The guard tightened his grip. That was when it happened. The magnetic restraints on Daniel's arms suddenly snapped. Not opened, snapped, like thin wires breaking. The guard blinked. Wait. In the next second, the human moved. Fast. Too fast. Daniel grabbed the alien's wrist, twisted, and the massive warrior crashed to the floor with a thunderous impact. The entire war room froze, and O1 moved. And O1 spoke. .5 alien guards immediately raised their plasma weapons. Commander Krall stared in disbelief. Human slowly stood up. He rolled his shoulders like someone waking up from a nap. Then he looked at the alien surrounding him. "You guys really shouldn't have removed the gravity suppressors." The guards hesitated. Krall narrowed his eyes. "What are you talking about?" Daniel smiled slightly. "You see," he tapped the floor with his boot. "This ship has lower gravity than Earth." The alien guards glanced at each other. The human continued. "So right now?" He flexed his hands. "I feel really light." Then Daniel Carter looked directly at Commander Krall and said the words that would soon become the most terrifying sentence in Zereth military history. "You think this is impressive?" He took a step forward. "You should see what humans can do on our own planet." Across the war room, one of the alien guards whispered in fear, "Commander," but it was already too late. The human soldier had just stood up, and the room suddenly felt much smaller. For a few seconds after the human stood up, no one in the war room moved. .5 plasma rifles were aimed directly at Daniel Carter's chest. The alien guards waited for the order. Commander Krall slowly raised one clawed hand. "Do not fire." The guards hesitated. Krall stepped forward carefully, studying the human. Daniel stood there calmly, stretching his arms like someone who had just finished a long nap. "You broke military restraints," Krall said slowly. Daniel shrugged. "They were cheap." Several guards hissed in anger. One of them tightened his grip on his weapon. "Commander, this creature is dangerous." Krall ignored him. His eyes were locked on the human. "You said this ship has lower gravity than your planet." Daniel nodded. "Yeah." Krall tilted his head. "How much lower?" Daniel thought for a moment. "About 1/3. That answer made several guards uneasy. One of them muttered quietly. That means, Daniel finished the sentence, means everything here feels 3 times lighter to me. Silence. Then one guard suddenly fired a bright bolt of plasma, shot across the room. Daniel moved instantly. He stepped sideways. The plasma blast slammed into the wall behind him. The guards froze to Crawl's eyes widened. That speed, Daniel scratched the back of his neck. Look, I really didn't want to fight today. The guards slowly spread out, forming a circle around him. One of them growled. You will return to restraints. Daniel sighed, guys. He raised both hands casually. I'm still technically a prisoner. We can talk about this. Another guard stepped forward. This one was massive, nearly 4 meters tall. Heavy armor covered his body. His name was Brack, the strongest warrior on the cruiser. He cracked his armored knuckles. I will handle the human. The other guard stepped back. Brack walked toward Daniel slowly. Each step shook the metal floor. Daniel looked up at him. Wow. He tilted his head. You're big. Brack roared and swung a massive fist. Daniel ducked. The punch smashed into the wall behind him, denting the metal. Daniel blinked. Okay, that's rude. Brack attacked again. This time Daniel caught the alien's arm. The entire room gasped. The human stopped the punch. Daniel looked mildly surprised. Huh. He squeezed Brack's wrist. The giant alien dropped to one knee. Commander Crawl felt a strange chill run down his spine. Brack was the strongest soldier on the ship, and the human was holding him down with one hand. Daniel leaned closer to the alien warrior. You're strong, he said, but Earth gravity trains us differently. Then he pushed. Brack flew across the room. The massive alien crashed into a console, destroying it. Sparks exploded everywhere. The guards panicked. Open fire. Plasma bolts filled the room. Daniel grabbed a metal table and flipped it sideways as a shield. The blast hit the table, melting parts of it instantly. Commander Crawl shouted, Stop! You will damage the ship. But the guards were already firing wildly. Daniel pushed the table forward. A T slid across the floor and slammed into 2 guards. Both aliens crashed into the wall. The room became chaos. Sirens suddenly began to scream across the cruiser. A mechanical voice echoed through the ship. Security alert. Prisoner containment breach. Crawl turned to the tactical display. Then his expression changed. Impossible. One of the guards looked over. What is it, Commander? Crawl pointed to the screen. The human had triggered a station-wide security response. Heavy weapons were activating. Automated defenses were powering up. And something else, something much worse. In the main hangar bay, a Xerath war tank was being deployed. The guard looked confused. Commander, the tank is for planetary combat. Crawl nodded slowly. Yes. His eyes returned to the human standing in the destroyed war room. Daniel Carter stretched his shoulders again. You guys really escalated this situation. A guard growled. You will not escape this ship. Daniel glanced at the tactical screen. Then he smiled slightly. Oh, I'm not escaping. He pointed toward the hangar. I'm going to borrow that tank. The room went silent again. One guard laughed nervously. You cannot even move a Xerath war tank. Daniel looked back at them. You want to bet? Commander Crawl suddenly felt a terrible realization forming in his mind. What are humans? Daniel cracked his knuckles. Then he walked toward the door. Honestly, he looked over his shoulder. You really should have asked that question earlier. Across the cruiser, the massive hangar doors slowly opened, and the war tank powered up. But what the aliens didn't know yet was that the real problem wasn't the tank. The real problem was the human walking toward it. The alarm sirens echoed through the entire battle cruiser. Red emergency lights began flashing across the corridors. Security teams rushed toward the hangar bay. Commander Crawl followed the tactical screen as fast as he could on the display. A small green moved through the ship. The human, Private Daniel Carter. And everywhere he went, chaos followed. A guard rushed into the war room. Commander, the human is moving toward Hangar Bay 3. Crawl slammed his claw on the console. That is where the war tank is deployed. Yes, Commander. Another officer spoke nervously. Should we activate lethal force? Crawl hesitated. Something about the human's calm behavior made him uneasy. Send the heavy security unit first. Meanwhile, Daniel walked down the corridor like he owned the place. Two alien soldiers suddenly turned the corner. They froze when they saw him. That's him. They raised their plasma rifles. Daniel stopped walking. Guys. He sighed. Can we not do this again? They fired. Daniel grabbed a loose metal panel from the wall and used it as a shield. The plasma bolts slammed into the metal. He stepped forward. Then he kicked the floor. Hard. The metal deck plate cracked. Both aliens lost their balance. Before they could recover, Daniel grabbed both of them and gently pushed them into the wall. They slid down unconscious. Daniel looked at them. Sorry. He continued walking. A few minutes later, he arrived at Hangar Bay 3. The giant doors were already open. Inside the massive hangar stood something enormous. The HFY War tank. That it was a monstrous machine. 30 meters long, covered in thick battle armor. Heavy plasma cannons pointed forward. At it was designed to destroy cities. Around it stood 12 alien soldiers, heavy armored units. Their commander stepped forward. You will stop right there, human. Daniel looked at the tank. Then he smiled. Wow. He whistled. That's a big toy. The alien commander growled. This is a Xerath Dominion planetary assault vehicle. Daniel nodded. Yeah, I figured. The alien pointed his weapon. You will surrender immediately. Daniel ignored him, but he slowly walked toward the tank. The soldiers shouted, Stop! The cannons on the tank rotated toward him. Daniel placed his hand on the thick armored hull. He tapped it twice. Solid design. One alien laughed. Human, you cannot even dent that machine. Daniel cracked his neck. Yeah. He bent his knees slightly. The soldiers looked confused. Then Daniel grabbed the bottom edge of the tank and lifted it. First, nothing happened. Then, the massive tank moved. The soldiers stared in disbelief. The human was lifting it. The 30-meter war machine slowly rose off the ground. Commander Krall watched through the security cameras. His breathing stopped. That is impossible. The tank lifted higher. Daniel adjusted his grip. Okay. He grunted slightly. This thing is heavier than it looks. The alien soldiers began backing away. Point one whispered in terror. How was he doing that? Daniel looked at them while still holding the tank. You guys really need better intelligence reports. Then he lifted the entire tank over his head. The hangar fell completely silent. 30 tons of alien war machine held above a human soldier. One alien dropped his weapon. Another whispered, Commander, but no one answered. Daniel looked around the hangar. Where should I put this? He shrugged. Guess I'll just move it. He walked forward 2 steps, the tank still above him. Every alien soldier ran out of his path. Commander Krall whispered slowly. Humans, his voice shook. What have we captured? But the real shock was still coming, because at that exact moment, something appeared on the ship's long-range radar. Something massive, something fast. An officer screamed from the control room. Commander! Krall turned. What is it? The officer looked terrified. A human fleet has just entered the system. The entire bridge went silent. How many ships? Krall asked slowly. The officer swallowed. Too many to count. Back in the hangar, Daniel Carter gently placed the alien war tank back on the floor. Then he looked up toward the ceiling and smiled. Ah. He cracked his knuckles. Looks like backup just arrived. Across the cruiser, fear began to spread among the alien crew because they were about to learn something very important. The soldier they captured was only one human. The chamber fell completely silent. Every alien commander in the council room stared at the holographic battlefield frozen in front of them. The recording had stopped at the exact moment the human fleet arrived. General Threx slowly turned toward the human ambassador. Explain this, he demanded. The hologram flickered again. Thousands of human ships filled the screen. But they were not just warships. Behind them were massive carriers, medical vessels, evacuation ships, an entire civilization moving together. The alien commanders exchanged uneasy glances. This is not a fleet, whispered one officer. It is an army. The human ambassador calmly folded his hands. No, he replied quietly. This is a rescue mission. The room grew even colder. General Threx slammed a claw against the table. You call this a rescue mission? Your fleet destroyed our blockade in minutes. The ambassador looked directly at him. You attacked a human colony. Another hologram appeared. It showed the destroyed settlement, burning buildings, broken streets, and then the bodies. Alien officers leaned forward. They expected to see soldiers, but instead they saw small shapes, children. The room went completely silent again. One of the alien commanders whispered in horror. You deployed your entire fleet for this? The human ambassador's voice became colder than space. You hurt a human child. No one spoke. Then he continued. On Earth we have a rule. If you threaten humanity, we will fight you. But if you harm our children, the hologram changed again. Now it showed something far worse. Hundreds of new human fleets jumping into the system. Reinforcements. General Threx felt something he had never felt before. Fear. The ambassador leaned forward slightly. You thought this was retaliation? He shook his head slowly. No, the hologram zoomed out to show the massive human armada surrounding the alien empire, is the warning. And somewhere deep in alien space, human warships were still arriving. The alien council chamber felt smaller now. Not because the room had changed, but because the hologram above them had. The display showed the human fleets spreading across the entire star system. Thousands of ships moved in perfect coordination, forming a wall of steel and light around the alien empire. General Threx stared at it in disbelief. This is impossible, he muttered. No species mobilizes this fast. The human ambassador remained calm. You're right. He tapped the console beside him. The hologram zoomed out again. What the alien saw next made several commanders step back from the table. More fleets, not hundreds, not thousands. Millions of ships. They were coming from every direction in human space. One alien officer whispered in panic. How? How long have they been preparing this? The ambassador answered quietly. Since the moment your soldiers touched that colony. General Threx clenched his claws. You would start a galactic war over a single settlement? The ambassador looked at him with cold, unwavering eyes. You still don't understand. He pointed toward the hologram of the destroyed colony. That was not just a settlement. The display zoomed in again that a small playground appeared among the ruins. Broken swings. Tiny shoes lying in the dust. The ambassador spoke softly. That was a school. The silence that followed was unbearable. Then the human ambassador stood. When humanity first entered the galaxy, you called us Deathworlders. You studied our wars. You studied our weapons. You studied how dangerous we could be. He leaned slightly closer to the alien commanders. But you never studied why we fight. Another hologram appeared. Every human fleet activated their weapons at the same time. Stars themselves seemed to tremble. The ambassador's final words echoed through the chamber. Humans will forgive many things. We forgive insults. We forgive threats. We even forgive war. He paused. But we do not forgive those who harm our children. General Threx's voice cracked. What happens now? The ambassador turned toward the door. Without even looking back, he gave the final answer. That depends on one thing. He stopped. Did the child survive? The entire alien council held their breath. And across the stars, a single medical ship sent its report. Heartbeat detected. The human fleets powered down their weapons. But every alien commander in that room understood the truth. They had just seen the edge of extinction, and humanity had chosen mercy.